We're live. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have my good friend with me, Amanda Joan of Heart from awakenandunite.com. You guys are used to seeing Amanda on the show, but we also have two returning guests today. We have the amazing Sam and his mom, Leslie Menges, who they've been in Ohio. They've been fighting against the data centers. They're really brave for what they're doing. And today we're going to do a podcast. Amanda and Sam and his mom are going to update us on the current fight with the data centers. And I think this is really important, guys, because I mean, it's beyond important because we don't know what they want to do with these data centers, first of all. Second of all, we just brought up a good point about like why, if they already have ChatGPT and Grok and all this stuff, what do they need these data centers for, really? I mean, what's the real purpose? And nobody's being informed as to what their true purpose is and what their function is going to be. All we know is the bad stuff, that they, pollute the environment, that they use up a lot of natural resources. And Amanda could probably go on and on with what else they do. And so there's that. And then also I found out they're building 2 data centers like right next to my house in the town that I currently live in and the town that I grew up in next to me. So, I'm a little bit worried, and I joined a group on Facebook about fighting against the data centers as well. But with all that said, I'd like to welcome them all back to the show. Amanda and Leslie and Sam, thanks everybody for coming on. How is everybody?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We're doing good.
Doing good. We're fighting a good fight of faith here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Amanda, did you want to start off and tell us what you've been finding out and maybe that would be a good place to start.
So we have been finding out so much stuff that's going on with these data centers. It's so deep and it's scary. I have a list of notes here. I can go over some content from Whitney Webb and what she's been finding out. Some content from Kim Georgetown, she's running for lieutenant governor for Ohio. But basically, we have this thing called Jobs Ohio. So, and
you want me to take over?
Yeah,
Sam and I, we love Jobs Ohio. And I'm not sure, Rob, I was going to ask you if in the state of Pennsylvania, if they have a similar situation. I haven't had a chance to look into other states and what they're doing now that like Ohio has put together this Jobs Ohio entity. But it's kind of messed up. So back in 2011, John Kasich started Jobs Ohio, and he did that as a way to take some strain off of the Department of Development down in Ohio. And in doing this, his goal, I believe, was to help push good development through that would be good economic development for the state, so that companies and developers and counties, townships, cities, when they want to develop something, they won't have to jump through as many hoops to do so. But since 2011, here we are in 2026, and we're seeing that a lot of the development that's coming through Jobs Ohio is data center development. They are responsible for advertising the mega site that's going on in our community. It's about 3 miles west of us on our street. This is how we got involved, is hearing about this. And prior to that, I couldn't even probably tell you what a data center was. But boy, have we gotten up to speed and learned a whole lot. So what happened is Jobs Ohio looks around in different communities for property that will serve their needs for the type of development that they would like to bring. So, for example, the representative from our region of Jobs Ohio, which is called Team NEO. So each region in Ohio has a division of Jobs Ohio. They were looking for a site specifically that's over 500 acres to develop tech manufacturing and data center possibly attached to that. So early on, we thought it was going to be a hyperscale data center. Since then, they've kind of clarified it's more tech manufacturing industry park, but that there could be a smaller data center associated with it. So They love our site because it's flat. It's flat. It's next to an airport. It has access to water, and yeah, the whole thing. So they're doing this not just in our neighborhood, but all over the state of Ohio. They're responsible for the Intel site down near Columbus that sits on a bunch of old farmland that they destroyed. And these are prime farmland. It's not farmland that's just been vacated and left to rot and not being used anymore. It's producing crops every year. So anyway, that's Jobs Ohio. But so anyway, when they were created, they're not a government entity. So they don't have to follow the rules of the government. They're a privately owned nonprofit economic development corporation. So they can do NDAs and they don't have to, divulge it. They're not breaking the law by having companies sign NDAs with them. But it's my understanding that they're also having county officials sign NDAs. And we're not going to really go into that today, but that's a little alarming. They are funded through our state liquor sales. So it's self-funded through what's called JOBS, which is Jobs Ohio Beverage System, and it manages all of our state's liquor sales. So they use the profits from this to fund their economic development initiatives, aka data centers. So, yeah, that's what we know about Jobs Ohio. I could go on, but I won't. That's the gist of it. What other states are doing if they've created these entities that aren't part of the government anymore to help push through their own initiatives, really. Yeah.
I'm not sure if they've done it in my state, but what are they saying that the data centers are for? Like, what are they trying to say their purpose is going to be? Like, why are they? Yeah. Do we know?
So I don't totally know. Do you want to chime in? Well, I'd like to read this thing from Whitney Webb, because she goes over this here. And so Whitney Webb says, Wexner and his closest friends, Epstein among them, worked to create a model for the takeover of local governments via public-private partnerships starting first in New Albany, beginning in the late 1980s. It has since spread to cover the entire state of Ohio via a network of public-private partnerships Wexner helped create. This system has allowed Wexner to use billions of dollars of Ohio taxpayer money with little to no public scrutiny to finance what can only be described as a massive welfare system of corporations. Among the system's current biggest beneficiaries are Wexner's New Albany company, as well as massive big tech corporations with important ties to Jeffrey Epstein's. For example, Amazon and Google. Meanwhile, regular Ohioans are seeing their power bills jump, provoking an affordability crisis in the state, while funding for public schools, libraries, and healthcare is cut dramatically, all to keep the corporate welfare engine designed by Wexner running full tilt. And then you have one created in 2011 at the state level called Jobs Ohio. And Jobs Ohio is an extremely controversial organization, as it should be, because it's extremely egregious. So basically, this venture capital, who's super cozy with Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn fame, and also perhaps Jeff Epstein infamy, if you will, named Mark Kwame, paid former Governor John Kasich's campaign like over $1 million. And basically, when Kasich got in, he put Kwame in charge of his corporation he created called Jobs Ohio that privatized the entire state's economic development authority. And so basically with Jobs Ohio, it's a private corporation, and then it took control of what was formerly the state liquor tax. So the state liquor tax in Ohio, instead of going into public coffers, is funneled into this private corporation. And because it's a private corporation, it doesn't have to show the public how it spends all its money. And they're basically the main engine now nationally. And then in conjunction with these regional public-private partnerships, funneling taxpayer money into these corporations. Lex Wessner mainly funded the Republican Party in Ohio. He has gave, I know, Vivek $2 million, who just got just won in the...
He's the Republican candidate for governor for the state of Ohio right now.
But he also funds people in the Democratic Party. But a lot of the state's legislators, unfortunately, seem to be pretty bought out. Progress Ohio, and I think there's another one like the Project 1881, or I can't remember what it is called, but it's basically a constitutional law think tank or something, but they fought against Jobs Ohio. That may be a good way to start, tackling this sort of system, because it's honestly just like an absolute insane organization that uses the liquor tax to funnel this dark money wherever it wants. It really should be considered unconstitutional, is what Whitney Webb says.
Yeah. So somebody tried to take that years ago and say, this isn't legal and what's going on here. They wanted to just ban Jobs Ohio, but I believe it was the Supreme Court of Ohio overturned that and allowed it to go, because they said, well, these people that are suing don't really have any ground to sue, so we're just going to side with Jobs Ohio and allow it to be. So I also have notes here that they've handed out well over $1 billion in incentives to these corporations. Some of these officers of the corporations are also Jobs Ohio insiders. And for example, you have Sherwin-Williams, Bob Evans, Procter & Gamble, and Manta Media that has board members that have ties to those companies. There's a guy named Chuck George. He's a board president of Lake to River, which is a Jobs Ohio regional partner, while leading a company called West Warren Development that was slated to receive $2 million loan from Jobs Ohio. So they're just all kind of in bed with each other. And John Kasich has ties as a former director of Worthington Industries. There's two of its subsidiaries that receive assistance from Jobs Ohio. So, yeah. And the funny thing about it is it's meant to create jobs. It's meant to create, revenue for states and things like that, and bring to good economic development. But there's a statistic here that says Arizona State University ranked Ohio 35th in the job growth in 2025, and Economic Policy Institute studied unemployment rates between 2007 and 2023. Now, granted, Jobs Ohio was created in 2011, so towards the beginning or midst of that, but yet Ohio still ranks near the bottom. So what's going on? And data centers, don't produce a lot of jobs. So, yeah.
Wow. This is huge information. So, Amanda, what can we do to fight? Oh, we haven't heard from Sam yet. But do we want to hear from Sam? I'd love to hear Sam. What do you think about what's going on, and how do you feel about everything that's transpiring with the data centers?
I don't think it's pretty good, because it destroys farmland for something that we don't really need in life. We may need a few, but not like what we have, 200 in Ohio. And so I think that it's just a waste of money, and it's just they just want it because they think they're cool.
Do you want to tell them about Christine Nelson? So Christine Nelson is from Team NEO, our region of Jobs Ohio. Do you remember that interview she gave where she was talking about the mega site and the amount of acres? No. She was quoted she was interviewed at one point early on and about our mega site, and she said, yeah, we're looking to have 1,000 acres, and we would just love to have 2,000 acres here. This is wonderful. So we don't really like her in this area.
2,000 acres. They want that much land. That's insane. That's like an acre is like, I mean, 1 acre is like a massive amount of land. Like 2,000 acres they want for data centers. That's crazy. It's like
Right.
going to destroy the environment. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's absolutely insane. Like this is like insane. And to me, it's very Orwellian, right? It's like very 1984. Like, you know, it's like I don't get it at all. It's very weird. Like, you know, I don't get. I really don't. You know, I don't.
And
I
the
don't
average
like
data center is 1,000 acres, so that's the norm.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at our site. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
You're fine. No, I was just going to say that our site is right now, they're looking at 900 some acres that they're really trying to get. 622 of those acres are owned by a company called Sears Farms, and then there's a couple other private owners. So that's 622 of the acres, and then the additional 300 or so acres are county-owned property, I believe, that they're looking to buy from our county in order to get to that, close to that 1,000 acres. And just to clarify, you know, we've learned that they're calling it a tech manufacturing, not just a hyperscale data center, you know, but they don't have an end user. So at the end of the day, if you don't know what kind of company is coming into your backyard in your neighborhood, you really can't say 100% that, you know, it's not this or it's not that. And thankfully, that's why the trustees in that township have denied the rezoning of that farmland. But we know that they're trying to find other ways to get it through possible annexation. That's kind of what we're keeping an eye on right now. So yeah, there's a whole lot.
It's like they're trying to put it one place, and then when they block it in this one area, then they're trying another area, and they're trying to annex land. It's like they're trying to put them literally all around me, I think. I mean, I can name off, I don't know how many different cities and townships just around me right now. We're fighting them, and they're bringing them up. Should we do a warehouse data center here? And should we do a hyperscale one there? And it's just like, it's non-stop right now. They're trying to get into Lake Erie, which we're right by the Great Lakes here. So they're trying to get anywhere and everywhere that they can. And now they're trying to put them in houses. They got units that you can put on your house. You can have a data center right at your house. But let me tell you, these things are lethal to live within 15 minutes of one. And that came from a military person that worked on data centers and worked in data centers, told me that. So, you know, just the street lights alone right now, these LED lights give heart attacks and strokes. All of them will have 5G lighting on them and 5G infrastructure. So it's
wow. So we got someone over in the chat from Columbus. Hadi, he says they are almost done building a huge data center on Highway 23 south of Columbus. He says not to the casino, 6 buildings together.
Yeah, and that's probably New Albany Company, and they're the ones trying to come here, I believe, right?
So I think it's MLB Holdings or something to that. I don't know the exact name, so don't quote me on that, but that's a company that owns some property also in our county that they are supposedly looking to build an actual data center, hyperscale. And that company is owned by Les Wexner. So he's got a bunch of companies and a bunch of different names.
Yeah, isn't there Ohio one and Lorain one and Columbus one, and they name them different names, and they're private companies and all tied into this Jobs Ohio and this Lex Wessner stuff. It's like insane.
Yeah,
we have a sewer line they're trying to put in, although people are trying to turn down this data center. It raises serious questions about long-term plans for the area. Even though the people said we don't want a sewer line. How big is that sewer line, Sam? 48 inches. How tall is that? How many feet is that? That's as tall as Sam.
Wow. He is tall.
So you got a 48-inch sewer line that you won't even be able to be used for a house because it would blow through the house units. because it's too powerful. But so what are they going to use it for? Stuff
Yeah.
like a data center.
Sam, do you want to talk about what size the regular sewers are?
So like the regular shoes for like houses,
Show us with
Or-
your hand.
like
Yeah,
8 inches,
it's a little bigger, a little bigger.
8 inches
Yeah,
to like 12 inches.
yeah.
And then for like
Well, when those regular residential sewers get near a water treatment plant, they turn into 24 inches. So is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. But how big are the mega site sewers that they're
they're
building?
like
48.
from
Put your arms out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That big. And he was at the commissioners meeting showing like cutouts and paper of how big, and it would cover his whole body.
Yeah.
You know.
Because they're trying to tell us that, oh, this is great because the EPA is against septic systems, and because they leach and all this stuff over the years. So they're trying to, these sewers are great because they're just going to help, us clean up some of those for the residents. And so, we're asking, well, are you saying the residents are going to tie into these sewers? Because it's our understanding they're not residential sewers. So please explain, and the commissioners haven't yet explained. So, but they're going to be 10 to 12 miles. They're going to start right next to the mega site on our road, which is at our regional airport. And they're going to go all the way northwest to the city of Vermillion, which is on the Lake Erie. And where they're building a huge wastewater treatment plant there.
Wow. Niche fan in the audience says, could the data centers be used for quantum computing that's changing our reality? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Because they're not very transparent about what they're actually for. They're just saying that they're going to provide a lot of jobs, but for what though? Like they just call them data centers. I don't understand. Yeah, it's very strange.
I don't understand either. And I think, we live in this day and age where, just like Sam said, unfortunately, we probably need some data centers. Our bank records, our medical records, our property records are all electronic now. They're all being saved in a data center somewhere. But do we need over 200 of them in the state of Ohio? Do we need to destroy prime farmland in order to build them when there's many brownfields that can be renovated maybe for something on a smaller scale that could do this? Do we need over 5,000 in the whole United States when the next country down is Germany and they have only not even 600? What is the push for so many data centers? Why do we already have so many data centers? And what are the purpose? I know people are nervous about mass surveillance and things of nature. I don't know a whole lot about that. I haven't dug deep into that rabbit hole yet, but it's hard to say why.
Yeah, and Flixlove in the audience says it's other data than that. She says it's our bio data. She feels it is. Like it could be. It's wow. Yeah, Amanda, did you have some slides you wanted to show too, or something?
Yeah. We also got House Bill 2289, which would raise the petition requirements from 10% to 35% of the voters from the last election for issues involving mega sites or data centers, making it much harder for citizens to challenge these projects. So that's another one in the House. Also look at HB 646, should be closely reviewed. Citizens deserve to know what it is, who benefits, and whether it protects communities or primarily serves corporate interests. We have moratoriums going up all around us too. People are fighting it. Moratoriums basically say that you can't move forward until more science and investigation into them is done. And so people are trying to block them left and right. I also have one more thing I want to say. This is a little shorter than the last piece. Kim Georgeton, running for lieutenant governor for Ohio, says there's a law in Ohio called the Public Records Act. It says if, as you are a citizen, have the right to see what your government is doing with public money, economic development, deals, tax break, who got what and why. That's been the law for decades. However, in June 2025, they passed the giant budget bill, House Bill 96, over 1,000 pages, and buried it inside. It's a section called RC 966. They quietly made all economic development records, applications, contracts, who got incentives, how much, completely confidential, off limits, not public. It went into effect here in March 2026. And here's the part that should make you mad. It doesn't just seal the records, it makes it a criminal offense for government employees to even explain an economic development application to you or a reporter. Your city council member could face criminal charges for answering your questions. Who passed it? Well, the primary sponsor was Republican Representative Brian Stewart. The Senate Conference Committee, the people who put the final version together, included the following: Senators Andrew Brenner, Jerry Serino, Teresa Gavarone, Terry Johnson, George Lang, Christina Rajner, and Mark Romanchuk. This isn't abstract. If a company gets a giant tax break to come into our town and you can't know who they are, what they promised, or if they kept their word, and if a government employee tells you they could be prosecuted, that's not protecting business. That's protecting corruption. Here's what you should do right now. Go to ohiohouse.gov, find your representative, and call or email them asking them to repeal section RC 9.66D.
Wow.
So that's crazy.
That is crazy. So right now she had, Amanda had mentioned about the 10%, or I think it was to 35%. So that's pretty relevant with what's going on right now in the state of Ohio. There's a group down in Southern Ohio that had started working with the ballot board in order to get this issue of data center development in Ohio on the ballot for November. So they've reached the phase in early April where we could start getting signatures on the petition. And it's a no data center petition, but specifically what it is it would limit the size of a data center to 25 megawatts or under. So it would get rid of the hyperscale ones, and those are the ones that are putting the significant strain on the infrastructure, such as the electrical grid and the water. So, but we need in the state of Ohio, based off that percentage that Mandy was talking about, we need over 413,000 signatures by July 1st. So Sam and I have been working in Lorain County, and as we go to different counties that are visiting friends and family to get some signatures on these. So if that, what she was saying, that if that goes up by 35%, oh my gosh, the amount of legwork needed to get exponentially more signatures on not just this data center petitions, but other petitions for other laws that you'd like to see happening in the state of Ohio. That means it's just going to be that many more, you know. So it really ties the residents' hands, registered voters' hands on seeing issues that are important to them wind up on the ballot. So pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, I have some videos too, but we can go over these slides first. So if you want, we can watch the videos later. Some of them are on the slides, so
Okay.
yeah, do that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we got Sam here. He's been doing the petitions all over. So we got, if you guys want to screenshot this stuff, you can then. So we got in our county, I have to give some mad props to our sheriff because he, our commissioners took $2 million and used it for basically a blueprint for a new jail and from an architecture.
Yeah, so there's in the state of Ohio laws that if they want to do any kind of development on a county jail, they have to have, I think it's like a board of 7 or so people, and there's specific title holders that need to be part of that 7-person board. So you'd have your 3 county commissioners, I think it's the sheriff, and along with 3 other county officials, and they come together and they decide, if they're going to update the jail and how much money that they're approving for that. And if it's over, and this is the case, if it's over a certain amount of money. So if it's like, I can't remember what the amount is, but hypothetically, I'm going to say if it's $500, for example, the commissioners don't need to get approval from all 7 members to update a broken toilet in the jail, right? Like that would be under $500 for hypothetical. I don't know the exact number, don't quote me. But what our county commissioners did was they got in a contract, I think it was with an architect or something of that nature to start the initial process. And it's a $2 million contract, and they did not meet with all the board members. The 3 of them voted on it and then signed this contract, and
$2 million is gone. So now our sheriff went and raided.
He got a search warrant.
He got a search warrant and went and raided our administration buildings and the 911 call center, which is interesting because I have some slides here later. I'll show you who has to do with this 911 call center stuff.
So
and I'll show you that in these slides, but it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And scary. So here's our sheriff. Yeah, he's got search warrants. So I hope they found everything, boy. I really do. We got Casey.
I don't know how to say his name.
Pooch. I
don't know. I've never known.
He was running for governor here, and
the Republican. He wanted the Republican spot on our ballot for November, so he ran in the primaries against Vivek, but he lost, unfortunately. And the Kim George, she was his running mate.
And so he's saying HB 126 was written by the Ohio Chamber of Commerce and introduced by Representative Meredith Craig and Representative Adam Matthews. It has already passed the House and could get a vote in the Senate Judiciary tomorrow. If data center causes damage beyond physical property damage, the local government under HB 126 would not be able to sue the data center to recover that loss. Under HB 126, if a disaster happens with respect to the data center, guess who's going to pick up the tab? We are. So they got a situation in Georgia, he says, and he goes on and on here. And you guys can screenshot this if you'd like. And yeah, there that is. And then here's the most states with the most data centers. Here's a map with all the states with the most data centers. I'm just going to quickly go through these. Here's why it's harmful. Here is the states under construction as of February 2026. These are data centers under construction in the U.S. So look for your states and find out where they're going up and fight the good fight of faith, and go in your commissioner's office or your township meetings and put it on the hearing that you object and you are in protest and it is a violation and a harm and a trespass on the people, and let them know. Here's Amazon data center linked to cluster of rare cancers. That scientists have discovered AI data centers are even worse for the environment than we thought. Here's another slide. We have a first nationwide data protest was last Saturday, May 16th at 10 a.m. local time, and to continue every other Saturday until change is enacted. So the people are calling to start protesting every other Saturday, 10 a.m. on, in your counties, townships, wherever you got to go. Get a sign, put it up, and do something, please, and thank you.
Absolutely.
Here's another real cost to our communities, for our health and our future. Only 7% of Americans expressed strong support for them. More than 70% of Americans oppose AI data centers. Okay. Data centers power hunger 150 megawatts, enough electricity to power 100,000 homes. 1.5 to 5 million gallons of water a day. 267% your electricity costs go up.
That's the wholesale. So
And the
consumer bills are 10 to 15%, but they're saying that's going to go up even more by
That's a lie.
2030. It's going to be exponentially greater than that. I know some communities have seen like upwards of 22% or more.
Here's a map where the green is the ones that are going to be built. The red is the ones that already are built. So here is the East Coast. Here is the West Coast. Here is the middle of the United States.
Why are they building them on the coast? But it seems like they're building them near water, or what? I don't know. It seems like they want to nail Texas. Like, look at Texas. Like they're really trying to like. Just, just blast Texas with like a lot, and then also, if you can see my cursor up in here, it seems like they're really hitting like, the East Coast, like really, it seems like they're really hitting the East Coast, like somewhat of the Midwest, that's wild. I don't get. I'm trying to figure out
the East Coast. Look at all this East Coast stuff going on. Oh my gosh.
And up there by us, by the Great Lakes and Michigan, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like they're trying to build near areas of water,
Yeah.
Why not California? See, I would be reckoning that these people are like, they live in California, or they are, because they're techies, so they're not building them in their own states, but they want to capitalize on the East Coast, or at least this is like their whole, and then Texas, like, but they're not building it. I don't know. I can't say, because Chief Mustache in the audience and on Rumble, he said, who owns the data centers? I know that Think guy owns one of them, and you said Les Wexner, all like big tech guys, I would say, right?
Amazon has data centers, Google, Meta, all those big corporations do.
Yeah. This is a printout that they made in our county to make it sound good.
Yeah, it's like they had put out a survey, and then they said, "Oh, the residents responded, and look, they're for development.
They're for economic development, but they don't even know what that means."
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people feel like it did not represent, and it doesn't. It doesn't represent the township and how they feel about what's happening. So, it's been brought up in a lot of our community meetings. To ask them to stop circulating that because they feel it's not true.
And here's where they're calling it and they're trying to bring in the college in our county.
Yeah.
And the Lorain County Community College Advanced Tech Campus proposal right next to the mega site. What?
Yeah, well, it is the mega site next to the airport there.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is where they want to do it, the mega site. And then we got the campus again.
Yeah, so Jobs Ohio, if you go on there, you can search their properties that they're shopping around to developers. And this is the mega site one by us. Interestingly enough, I tried to find it on their website last night, and out of 156 sites in Lorain County that are posted, that one's surprisingly missing, but we're not really sure why. So we don't know if because there was so much news coverage that didn't look good for Jobs Ohio, if they quietly took it down for a brief period and they're going to put it up at some point. So we're just keeping our eye on this. But I recently started helping Southeast County in the state of Ohio called Guernsey County. I'm their county lead now for the data center petition drive to get petitions down there because my family owns some property down there. My husband and I hope to retire at some point down there. And so I did a search of theirs. I don't know if you have those in this or not, but I did a search of their county, and there's some a questionable site that's 146 acres. That's near a mile and a half from their regional airport. It's on flat land. It's owned by a company called W. Baker Holdings, which owns property, buys and sells property in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Kentucky. And it's near a lake. And Guernsey County, just a few years ago, built a massive power station. So it's not a grid, but it's a huge eyesore off of I-77, just south of Cambridge, Ohio. And so therefore, you now have infrastructure to support a data center potentially. So kind of keeping my eye on that with them and educating them through that process. But sorry to derail your slides.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, the Northeast Ohio mega site that they're posting. So
No. Wow.
yeah. So if you're in Ohio and you want to know what's going on in your community, you can search by your city, your township, your county, and you can see what development sites Job Ohio is shopping out to developers.
Right. And like she was saying earlier, Sears Farms was the one going in and buying up farmland for these data centers. So it sounds like a good place. Oh, Sears Farms wants to buy my place. No, it's tied into.
Yeah. Well, Sears Farms, what I think they are, is they're out of Indiana and they're buying up farmland. They have for years now, in Ohio and Indiana and probably other places too. And they hold on to it and they lease it out at a really high rate to farmers, some of which aren't even local farmers. And they continue to farm it, and it's prime farmland. They just hold on to it until a developer wants to come in and build a data center or whatever they want to build. And so then they sell it and they make a crap ton of money. And that's what I envision this W. Baker Holdings down in Guernsey County, kind of what they're doing, whether it's for a data center or tech manufacturing or anything else, that's just what they do. They buy and sell, and they don't really have an interest except to make money,
Okay, so we're gonna try to blast through these faster. So this is
tired.
Yeah, this is Cleveland's largest and most expensive data center may rise near Slavic Village, right downtown Cleveland. Basically, here is the campaign to follow. No Slavic Village data center. Please check out this person's no SB data at no SB data center. But their application has been rejected, so that's great on their proposed data center. And so here it is again, rejected. And then we got this representative, U.S. Representative Greg Landsman. He has introduced a bill requiring data centers to pay for their own energy infrastructure, which would disallow elected officials from signing NDAs. So that's good. So some good and a lot of bad stuff's going on here. Painesville Township just declared a moratorium. Brownhelm Township did in our county here.
Yeah.
Here we got Fort Meade. And Fort Meade is east of Tampa. Moves forward with a controversial $2.6 billion data center project despite community opposition. City of Fort Meade unanimously approves it. A hyperscale data center off of US 98. Florida data center needs up to 50 gallons of water a day. That might be a problem. These are all news clippings you guys can check out, screenshot. Florida's first hyperscale scale could be thwarted by a new water rule. Then Ron DeSantis gives Florida citizens the right to fight back against data centers, and he's protecting for Florida's families against data centers. So that's good. This, I'm not really sure how the stone bridge is connected, but it's something connected to this that we might need to research. Then we got the Florida Everglades are on fire. Over 11,000 acres burned. Florida is under the worst drought conditions in years. The ground is made of peat. And when peat burns, it burns from the inside out. The fires burning underneath the surface will likely keep going until tropical moisture returns. There is no fast fix. Almost 2,000 wildfires have already scorched nearly 120,000 acres across Florida just since January. The mainstream media is barely covering it. No wall-to-wall breaking news, no emergency primetime specials. Ask yourself, what would have to be different about this story for it to be front page everywhere? Yada yada. So the Everglades are right by Alligator Alley also. And if you look at my last sex trafficking survivor video that me and you did, actually, Rob, she talks about Alligator Alley in there and said that's where the bodies are buried.
Okay.
So that's crazy. And so the Everglades architectural area, basically they are planning to do a data center, a large data center in the Everglades, and it's all burning up right now. How convenient, right?
Oh, Kriya's in the audience. Hey, Kriya, good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope she caught all that.
I can't stop coughing for some reason.
Here again in the Everglades, the company is receiving $60 million plus tax subsidy for a facility that only employs roughly 40 people. That equates to $1.5 million in lost tax revenue per job created. And we got Oregon, over 35 million gallons of water, 1,260 violations in 1 year.
Wow.
Data center land grab, 9,100 acres in Oregon, basically, and Amazon is to pay $20.5 million on a toxic water settlement. So there's that. 1,200 violations. Toxic water in Oregon. Over 30 plus data centers. Save the salmon. And we got controversial West Valley. This is in Maricopa County. Data center approved despite massive community backlash. Maricopa County, we know how much fraud went on in that county. In Arizona. And then we got here, Utah. 40,000 acres, about 62 square miles are they're going to take up on a data center. Here's the plat, 62 square miles, Salt Lake City, Utah. All right, Kevin O'Leary's massive data center was approved by County Commission in Utah last night. Data centers classified as national security. Here's a site at 40,000 acres. It would be 2.5 times the size of Manhattan in Utah. Utah is under fire right now. And it says data centers are now classified as national security, and we're seeing that play out in real time. Please read my article and join the solutions. Da, 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 da. Okay. And then we got people being arrested during this. There's these people could not stop the data centers, and here are the people that you can call. Here's our county commission members. You're welcome to call them up and give them heck. There's Michigan, Van Buren Township, Michigan, outraged as the board continues to push forward a hyperscale data center for Google despite the continued public opposition. On 5/19/26, the board unanimously approves tax exemptions for Google after hours of public comment. Residents are now seeking to recall the entire board. I hope they do. And then we got, here, this is New Jersey, Cumberland County, New Jersey, into a nightmare. Residents have brown water, ruining clothes, undrinkable tap water, sky-high electric bills, blinding lights at night, and asthma ER visits from air pollution. Merely forced to move. Enough, they said. So it's bad. And then we got Wisconsin. No new state data center regulations in Wisconsin until next year. So that's good. And then we got Lake Tahoe, California. Nearly 50,000 Lake Tahoe residents have to find a new power source after their energy source looks to redirect lines to data centers. So 49,000 Lake Tahoe residents will lose power to data centers. 50,000 people lose electricity because of data centers. And then we got Texas. State governments are classifying AI data centers as military operations to strip citizens of their rights and electricity. Project Matador, Texas, using 96 billion kilowatts. Then we got Georgia. Georgia is seizing homes and land using eminent domain for the construction of a $17 billion data center in Georgia. And then, so people are getting evicted from their homes. They have to leave. They can't live by these things. And then this was really cool. Data centers are a national security risk, okay? 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. You guys got to look into that, because that basically says if they're using stuff that's made in China, it's against the National Defense Authorization Act. So this is a way we can fight right here. And then we got, now we're getting into some of the other stuff here. The Rockefellers patent, the human body is now patented. I'm just going to blast through these. You guys can screenshot them, I hope, and read this stuff or look into this. But they can control your body with this new technology and through AI and through the stuff that we are getting in our bodies with nanotech. Here we go. I'm just going to blast through these. 1, 2, 3. Internet bio nano things inside of humans, making you part of the smart city infrastructure. You became a node on the network, basically. You look up this guy's name, INF. I can't pronounce his last name, inventor of the internet bio nano thing. Here's the patent. Here's some of the nanotech. Here's another patent using quantum dots for identification, authenticate. I can't even say it right now. Tracking of objects.
Yeah, authenticate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my mouth is not working right now. Here's some more patents. Here, biohybrid 6G networks with synthetic biology-enabled base stations for energy autonomous telecommunications. They're going to use your body and bounce 6G frequencies off of us. Here's the 23andMe data leak. Check that out. Here is the cryptocurrency system using body activity data. And then here's the other patent for that. And then we got Harvard, the CRISPR gene editing applications. I'll look into that. And then we got the Genesis mission, transforming science and energy with AI. Then we got scientists want to use people as antennas to power 6G. Nice. And then this guy was also brought up, but it was important to why he's brought up. I can't remember the details. Here's biometric data for banks, basically. Trump's executive order will force Americans to surrender biometric data or lose their bank accounts. Here's the patent. And then we got biometric identification in a vehicle. So now they're going to attach it to our vehicles. If they don't like you driving or the way you're driving, or if you're tired or whatever, they can shut your car off.
Holy shit.
And then we got the top expert warns 5G and Wi-Fi intentionally operates at a frequency that opens the blood-brain barrier, allowing toxins to enter into the brain from the 5G. And RFK backs this up. He confirmed, revealing that the U.S. government knew that Wi-Fi and 5G opens the blood-brain barrier, but concealed this vital information from the public. Now, cognitive decline and brain disorders are surging. And then we got this. This is, we're almost to the end here. This is really important stuff. 42 pages of dirt on the data directly from the Epstein files. This 1998 report from the Center for Data Insight, CDI, at Northern Arizona University is a foundational audit of the data mining industry as it emerged from the artificial intelligence hype of the 80s. It provides a critical historical blueprint for how knowledge discovery in databases, which means KDD, was designed to stimulate the personal relationships of small businesses and corporate something scale. I can't see that. The administrative grin of 1998 key audit findings, the simulation of trust, data mining was explicitly developed to allow large anonymous corporations to emulate small businesses by noticing, remembering, and learning from customer interactions. The proof of concept track. The report advocates for a proof of concept period to answer if there is hard evidence that the company should invest in mining its own data. This is the origin of the administrative grin, selling the potential of data before its true impact is known. The continuous data mining lure. 1997, companies like TrueVidya were already claiming And then here you go, 42 pages of data directly from the Epstein files. Here's some of the files. And then we got this. Carbine is now part of Axion 911. Learn more. Carbine. So Carbine is connected to our 911 call center. So that's another reason why I thought the sheriff is raiding the 911 call center, possibly.
No, he's looking into the 911 center because years ago, the sheriff's office was in charge of the 911 call center. And then that got switched quite a few years ago. So the county commissioners are in charge of it, I believe. And then there was maybe some corruption, I think, that he's worried about. I'm not quite sure totally. So that's why he's done a search warrant and is looking into the business dealings of the 911 under the commissioners. And I think he feels that it should go back to the sheriff's office with that.
So Epstein was part of creating this, I guess. Here. This lady is saying, you guys can read this. I don't want to read it. Yeah, it's all tied into this. And then this person, Parsa versus Google, look it up. Why has nothing meaningful been done other than a massive push for data centers? This is why somebody.
Wait, I got something to tell you about that. You know who Parsa was? Know. So Parsa was. I think they're referring to Cyrus Parsa. He used to come on Carrie Cassidy's show. They found him unalived in his house by gunshot. I'm trying to say this as politely as possible because Sam's in the with us, but like Cyrus Parsa was found unalived, and like he and he was fighting against AI and big tech.
Nice.
And he used to come on Carrie Cassidy's show all the time.
And then we got the flock cameras. Flock safety cameras are also tied into all this AI stuff. Vehicle focused, and it uses AI-enabled cameras to identify cars based on license plates, make, models, details like roof racks or trailers, but they're not generally designed to photograph the driver or occupants. But I heard they do take photographs, and they'll tell you if you're wearing a Trump hat or not, Yes. So targeted surveillance, rather than tracking every person, they are marketed to notify the law enforcement when a vehicle associated with a crime, such as a stolen car or a suspect in a serious incident, passes a camera. And then we got this guy, the owner of Palantir, Peter Thiel, a man mentioned Epstein files over 2,200 times, making him the fourth most mentioned individual in the files. He accepted $40 million that we know about from Epstein. And then we got Black and Ring are tied together. Flock and Ring end partnership talks in October 2025. Amazon tried to plug Ring into Flock, the AI surveillance network, after backlash. Ring canceled the deal, but Ring still partners with Axon. Police can request your footage. Once shared, it can flow into ICE.
Yeah.
And the Ring
By
doorbell.
the way, that guy from Palantir is that guy that you mentioned, the one
Peter
that
Thiel.
yeah, Peter Thiel owns Palantir. They're the same company that's using AI drones over in Gaza. Israel is using Palantir's AI drones over in Gaza.
And then Ring doorbells are now storing the face of every person who walks past. And then we got this guy. His website is deflock-corona.org. See what happened when a resident spoke up about flock cameras being introduced into their state. And then we got flock cameras contain about 2 pounds of copper and a gram of gold. So I wonder how much data centers, what kind of copper and gold that the data centers use too. That's interesting. And then we got this guy saying, me through some of the way, he says, sign the petition and the link in the bio. The city of Cleveland is considering over the next couple weeks and beyond, potentially whether we should continue or our contract with Flock, an AI-powered security camera company. Companies like Flock specialize in automated license plate readers with collect data, millions of vehicles, So I think that's all for that. And let me see something. Oh shit. And then I can do this. How do I make, can you hear this? Probably not.
What? Oh! Channel 8 don't have to let the person positive go over his time. You're shameful. You're shameful.
Question, someone.
Shameful.
Okay, we just
Everybody
need
take a
everybody
picture of
to sit
this.
down. We need to get through the meeting. So
False. All of this is false. Then why won't they let people talk? Why won't they let us ask questions? It's false. This is not real information. And we sit here like it's okay. It's a charade. It's a charade. It's false.
I got one more video for you.
Work. So they were able to sue them and got them stopped for that reason. There is a county that stopped a data center because of the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. The act says that if you build anything related to national security, that it cannot use any components from China. All data centers have components from China. That's how the supply chains work. So they were able to sue them and got them stopped for that reason. There is a county that stopped.
Okay. And I think that's it. I got maybe one more thing I can show. That's it. So right now we do Ohio push to limit development of data centers forces steep climb to November ballot. Basically, we got 27,000 signatures. Right now, we're going to need 4,300 signatures by July 1st.
413,000.
What did I say?
30 or something.
No, 413. And
Yeah.
it's just impossible, but we're going to try. We can try to.
I haven't told Sam about the amount that we have versus he knows what we need, but
So,
we're cooked, he says.
so either way, can't we get it on? Let me get off of here. Can't we? Can't we get it on the ballot for next year, or how does this
I'm
work?
sure that they're going to try to do it again. I would hope that they would. And right now, we're still trying to get as many signatures as we can. I think it was rough in April because of the weather and there weren't a lot of activities going on. But now that the weather's getting better and people are having, parades for Memorial Day and ball games and events outside, the hope is that we'll get like a huge super jump in numbers soon. But it's not a loss for me because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand about data centers. They don't know about data centers. And this is all about educating and giving good information so people can look into, the data centers for themselves and kind of know it's a thing. And wait a minute, what's that? And what do you mean? And, yeah, my electric bill, what? So, to me, we're bringing some really good awareness and connecting with people in our communities, which I think is amazing. I met some really awesome people down in Guernsey County. I met amazing people in our own community just down the street. When you live on a country road, you don't really meet your neighbors. And through this horrific thing, we've gotten to meet some really cool people. It's how Mandy and I met. So, there are good things that come out of being a community and working together. And I think the one takeaway that people can hopefully take today is go to your meetings. We never did. I've lived where I live now for 20 years and I never went to meetings. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like if I vote in line with my political views and stances, that those people are going to do right for us. And unfortunately,
People are bought and paid for.
Well, and to just see that things are going on that's like, wait a minute, what? And to hear that the majority of the community is against it as well, and that elected officials are still moving forward, it's sad, and mortifying a little bit. So I've learned the hard way, go to your meetings, go to your township meetings, your village, your city, your county commissioner meetings. There should be spaces for public comments at those meetings. I would also look, if you live in the state of Ohio, I would look into the Jobs Ohio listings in your community. And I just start asking questions. What I did was I found the Guernsey County one, and then I went to the Guernsey County auditor's site. I plugged in some of those addresses and looked them up. Was able to find out who owns them, for how long, where they're located. And from there, you have to look into the records of your trustees and your commissioners to find, you can start doing records requests, on any communications with those owners and any development that may have been talked about before now. But if you're active and going and aware, hopefully you can cut it off at the pass and not trying to, play catch up and fight something that feels very discouraging at a loss.
And put them on notice. Serve them an affidavit. Serve them a declaration in equity. Whatever you can do to stand up for your rights. We don't have rights unless we start standing up for those rights. And it's we the people that we got to start standing up and shutting this stuff down, or our kids aren't going to have any resources.
Absolutely. Well, this was an amazing show. Amanda, do you guys want to tell people how they can follow you? And thank you guys. This was awesome. Yeah.
My project, I have a website, awakenandunite.com, or you can go to tvwithpurpose.com. I have videos about from the hearings, and you guys can discover a lot of the different things we're finding on those hearings. It's on my Republic page at awakenandunite.com or tvwithpurpose.com, same site. And I have a bunch of other content on there that will open your eyes as well. I really appreciate you, Rob. for having us on and sharing this really vital information with the world, because we need it so much right now, and we have to be the change we wish to see in the world. And, you know, with God, all things are possible, and we can move forward fearlessly with trust, faith, and hope on our hearts, and know that we are manipulating timelines. We are, you know, what we need, and we got to start standing up.
Awesome. Yeah. And Leslie, do you want to tell people how they can follow you?
So I run the group on Facebook called Guernsey County Residents for Responsible Development. You can also follow, if you're in the state of Ohio, I suggest you follow the Ohio Residents for Responsible Development along with Conserve Ohio. Conserve Ohio, that will take you to a lot of the places in the state of Ohio where you can find where the petition's going to be at if you want to sign it and you're not sure. And yeah, we're on Facebook, and Sam's got a little page on there. It's called Stand with Sam, and all his happenings that he chooses to share. Do you want to say anything before we go? Sam's tired. We haven't had dinner yet.
Thank you for coming, Sam. We appreciate you, buddy.
And
Thank you.
what is it? New Russia Township. What's that page?
Save New Russia Township and surrounding areas or something like that. There's another
On Facebook, and then there's a Brown Helm on Facebook.
Yeah,
What's that one?
I don't follow that.
Something about Brown Helm Township on Facebook
Yeah.
as well. They have a page going, and I'm sure, I hope a lot of other pages will start to fight this. I know Stop Data Centers.
Yeah, Stop Data Centers. And then if you're in the state of Ohio, a lot of the counties have a page like I do. So it would be like Stark County Residents for Responsible Development. You can kind of look at those sort of pages if you find them for your county. They will be telling you where the petitions are at. They'll be asking to find volunteers. They'll be sharing information on data center development in the county, along with any good information on the strain it might put in the community, and township meetings, county meetings, in case people want to go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. And thank you for everybody for tuning in. And I think I'll be live a little bit later tonight. So I'll see everybody later tonight. And thank you, Amanda. And thank you, Leslie. And thank you, Sam. And
Thank
have a
you
nice
so
day.
much.
Good
Thanks
night,
for
guys.
having us.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks everybody for all the comments too. Appreciate y'all.